Hi, everyone. I'm Jamie Vaughn for How She Got There, a Next In podcast for Next Level Recruiting. And today we're so excited to bring to you our guest, Bianca Carr, and she is the Senior Director of Customer Success at Sprout Social. Hi, Bianca. How are you?
I'm good. Hi, Jamie. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. You know, what we love to do here with How She Got There is really teach women that no career is linear, and that there's all kinds of ways to come about it. And if somebody is thinking about changing their career, we want to give them lots of options. So you popped up for me and I thought, this lady is something special. So we have to have her on. So what I always love to start off our podcast asking is, where did you grow up and what did you think you were going to be when you grew up?
Oh, well, definitely not what I'm doing now. I don't think I could have even imagined what I'm doing now. I'm pretty sure it didn't exist. So I grew up in West Vancouver, British Columbia in Canada. I'm a Canadian. There are many of us amongst you in the US. And what I wanted to be when I grew up, I was completely obsessed with musical theater. I was in all the musicals and all the plays, and I thought I was probably going to do some on stage singing and dancing and acting and all of that. And I really loved it. Was one of those big musical theater nerds.
Yep, me too. Totally get it. So tell me about your educational journey.
Yeah, so in Canada, there's a university called McGill in Montreal. It's probably one of our most well-known universities, and I think I had, these big aspirations to go to NYU or New York, but, looking back, I think my parents actually had a really great attitude about a bachelor's degree and that I was going to get an education, not necessarily a job. And we were Canadian with the exchange rate, and we looked at what NYU cost. And, my dad very, I think, succinctly explained to me that it just didn't make sense. I was going off without being totally sure of what I wanted to do. And did we want to incur that debt? And I think that was so important, just knowing what so many people my age have gone through with their student debt and having to pay that off, that I feel really grateful that I went to a Canadian university. I got a great education. It was extremely cold, freezing if you've ever been in Montreal weather, but I got all the things that I think I would have gotten at any other university without any of the debt.
Oh, nice. So is Canadian education, is it more, is it now I messed up. Okay. So with Canadian education, is it free or do you pay something into that?
So it's not free, but it's definitely a lot cheaper. We only have public universities in Canada, and it would have been even cheaper had I gained residency in Quebec. So there's a really big commitment to, I guess we have what you might call here socialized medicine. And we have a bunch of other kind of ways in which we're able to access certain services. I actually remember that the years that I was there, they tried to raise the tuition for Quebec residents, and I think it was only $1,000 or $2,000 a year, and they protested. So looking back then, so I paid less than 10 grand a year, like significantly less. So coming out of university, I really had less of that pressure. And additionally, the year I came out, it was still a really, really tough post-recession market. So it wasn't like I was going into a market where people were clamoring for entry-level people. So I was grateful, at the very least, I didn't have that additional pressure of debt.
Yeah. So with that, what did you major in?
What did I not major in is the question. Again, I went in really just wanting to learn and soak everything up. So I think I was a double major. I did a history degree, and then I discovered that there was actually a film studies program hidden within the English department. So I did a cultural studies degree, which was film, and then I minored in communications. So I did literally, I'm a great dinner party guest. That's basically what I think my degree got me, and really good critical thinking. Which, again, I think when you're looking at a university degree, specifically a Bachelor of Arts, if you can come out feeling like you have really gained a skill of critical thinking and problem solving, that's probably the best thing that you can do.
Yeah, very, very true. I was a comm major too, so the joke is master sum.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but it's better to be a master of some than a master of none, is what I always had a professor say to me. But what was that first job for you?
Well, so this is the story of a Canadian dealing with visas. I actually had done an internship the summer before my 4th year at university. And through that, I got an offer to work at a music licensing agency in New York. Unfortunately, that visa fell through. And I went from someone who had a job waiting for her in New York City and to move to the States and pursue this opportunity to work in the cool industry of music,
right,
to not having a job anywhere. And that was really scary. That was really disappointing. I felt like I prided myself as being someone who always had a plan. And all of a sudden I had no plan. And so I worked at a supper club in Montreal, so a restaurant that sort of does bottle service. And I made a little bit of money over a couple months. And then that money helped me move to Toronto, which is really more of the financial capital of Canada. There's a bigger job market and opportunity there, and less of a requirement to speak French, which my French is not fantastic, at least not in a corporate environment. I can get by if I'm telling you the menu. So when in Toronto, I moved, I knew almost nobody. I started doing, other restaurant jobs. I started getting little social media jobs. I think I tweeted for one company that was doing a launch. And, during that time, social media was such in its infancy stage. There was, Pinterest, Snapchat, I think was out or was just starting to come out. Facebook was really big. And I ended up getting a social media manager job with a sugar company. And it was great. And I got some, more experience. And then ultimately, that same company that wanted to hire me in New York, I stayed in touch with them, and they were launching a Toronto office. And they reached out to me. And that was when I really got what I would say is my first real full-time job post-college. Everything else was really just trying to patch together some money so that I could pay the rent.
Yeah, understand. Yeah. So tell us about that career trajectory. So you take this music licensing job, you're working in the music industry, and how does that lead you to Sprout Social?
Well, I will tell you something about music, and it's that they love to pay you in cool. So I went to a lot of cool parties, a lot of cool events. I had a cool job, but cool doesn't pay the rent. And, I really loved it. I really prided myself in being this artistic, creative person. I was actually a musician, and then I developed a nerve condition in which I lost all the muscles in my left hand for about 2 years, and I lost the ability to play the guitar. And it was really a huge part of who I was and how I defined myself. And I felt like I was able to tap into that by working in the music industry in another capacity. But I also was not feeling challenged. I also felt like there was, a big kind of limit to what I was capable of doing within this world. And then an opportunity opened up within the same company in Los Angeles. And it felt like the right time. I'll be honest, I hadn't loved LA when I had spent a summer out in LA for an internship. I wasn't a big fan. I didn't have a car back then. There was no Uber. I think I had a flip phone. I'd look up things on Google Maps and try and write down all the directions. So the experience was not super positive, but it was a change. It was an opportunity to grow. and I took it. And that's really what put me on the next stage of my entire career. That big shift, that moving to the States, moving to Los Angeles, looking for something bigger, being willing to say, you know what, it's not my dream opportunity. It's maybe not exactly the thing I want right now, but it takes me one step closer.
Right.
That is what has helped me propel myself, I think, into making the leap into tech, which I was able to do by going to work at a music tech startup. So I kind of got in there with a little bit of music background, but no tech background, which then took me to a fully tech position, which was, building enterprise chatbots, which I learned so much from that. An incredible experience. One of the best teams I've worked on before. Then I went all the way into like incredibly technical, building ETL pipelines for like business analytics. And I was able to realize, okay, I've gone super technical. I've gone probably as technical as I'd ever want to. I think I need a little bit of levity in my life. I think I need to add that creativity, that left brain, right brain, that art and science. And that's when an opportunity at a company called Tiger Media arrived. And I took the opportunity. It was a head of customer success role. And over the last 2.5 years plus, that's where I've been. And then back in August, Sprout Social acquired Tiger Media. And now I am part of Tiger Media by Sprout Social.
So what's your job there? Tell us what the day in the life of a senior director of customer service would be.
So a big part, sorry, what was that?
I said customer service, and I should have said customer success.
Yes. Customer success. The thing that I consistently have to explain to family members what it means. And if you're not familiar with customer success, don't worry. It just means that you haven't been into enterprise software as deeply as I have. Really what it is ensuring that people who buy a software and who are spending thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands, sometimes even millions of dollars for their company to make them more efficient, to make them achieve whatever their goals are, that they actually get the value that they're looking for from that software. I mean, how many times have you purchased some kind of software or network or whatever it might be, and maybe you didn't purchase it, maybe you got it for free and it's ad supported, and the experience wasn't just a positive one, and so you ultimately stopped using it or you stopped paying for it. That's essentially what my team does, is make sure that the customer is getting value, consistently continues to get that value, and then ultimately buys more. And what I do is I work with my team who are based all over the US, EMEA, APAC, LATAM, all of those different regions. And we make sure that our customers are getting that value of the software that we support, which is an influencer marketing platform. So we provide end-to-end solutions for, maybe you are a music company and you have headphones and you want to be able to sell your headphones and work with an artist who's going to post on TikTok or who's going to make a reel on Instagram. You need to be able to understand the how and the why you're going to work with them.
Oh, that's amazing. I think so many times people think, oh, it's so easy to get into influencer marketing. And then, but if you don't have something to back up what you're selling, like you're saying the headphones, and you want to partner with an artist, if the customer, the B2C customer doesn't have the ability to actually go back and find that product, there's a big lack there. I think some people don't realize that you have to follow all the way through.
Yeah, and there's also a lot of data and strategy that goes into it. If you are, really treating influencer like its own paid media channel.
Right.
What's really interesting about the partnership between Sprout Social and with Tiger is, in my opinion, influencer is the evolution of social. If you are crushing it on social, you've got really great presence on all of the different platforms. Influencer is just that natural next step. It feels really organic for your team and for your audience. If you're not, and you're really new to it, it can be something that you can explore, of course, but they work so well together. And I'm really excited to see what we can do when it comes to just like learning from Sprout Social and that team, because this isn't their first rodeo. They've been here
Right.
before. And that's particularly for me in my career. I have been doing the startup game my whole career. It's only been seed, Series A, Series B at most. So to go work for a publicly traded company is such an incredible new challenge. I literally cannot control my excitement these days.
I love hearing that. I love when people really love what they do and they have a passion for it. So what kind of advice would you give someone who's wanting to start off in a career like yours? Maybe wanting to do tech, or somebody who's maybe thinking about that change midlife of, I've done this thing, now I want to switch over to something that is completely out of my wheelhouse.
Yeah. So I think there's a number of things, but I think in general, the advice that I give, young people who might be seeking advice from me or people on my team is this moving you in the direction of where you want to go, your North Star? And you don't necessarily need to have a 5-year plan or a 10-year plan, because be honest, that will probably get outdated within a year. But understanding what your North Star is, does this help me move in that direction?
Mm-hmm.
And also understanding that setbacks, whether it's you didn't get the visa and you went through a layoff. I have been part of a company that went out of business. I've been part of a company that closed our entire office. In both those scenarios, I was on a work visa, and I didn't just lose my job. I potentially lost the ability to stay in the country.
Mm-hmm.
I've had a scenario in which I, again, didn't get the visa approved, and I had to then start an entirely new job hunt to find another job to replace it and get a visa. So my advice is really understanding that I think you said it perfectly, it's not a straight line.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely not linear. But if you have this North Star, if you have this overarching movement that you can kind of propel yourself towards, then even when they're baby steps, they can feel like wins.
Mm-hmm.
If they're inching you closer to it.
Yeah. We have a saying in our office is to fail and fail fast. And we teach our new employees that it's okay to fail. We actually want you to fail, which is really counterintuitive for what you hear at a lot of companies. And we want you to do it quickly so you learn from it. And I think that goes right along with that North Star. Let's figure out those baby steps that you need to take.
Yeah. And when I'm interviewing candidates, which I am often doing, I will often ask them a question, and it's not a trick question. I'm always interested in their reasons, and I wouldn't fault anyone for giving either answer. But I ask them, would you prefer to love to win or hate to lose? And often people will have their different reasons, and I've heard both answers. But I do think that this joy of winning and owning that win and learning from the loss
Mm-hmm.
can be a really great mentality to have when you are learning, when you are in that constant state of learning. And honestly, I hope to continue learning well into my 50s, 60s, and 70s. So I don't plan for that to change anytime soon.
Well, I believe everyone should learn something new every day, even if it has nothing to do with what you do for a living. Just something. Keep that brain moving. So how do we get more women involved in technology careers?
So I think that there are an incredible amount of programs and online groups. Actually, a colleague has a fantastic group called Success in Black. It's for customer success professionals who are Black within the community to be able to lean on each other, to build each other up for career opportunities. I'm personally part of an organization called Women in Influencer Marketing. So there is an endless amount of resources for women. I think it's a really exciting opportunity and time for women. I think the story changes slightly when we start to think about women of color specifically, and we think about them in leadership roles. Companies can do a really great job with the best interests when it comes to thinking about the diversity of an entire company on average. But as you get into more leadership positions, that can be really challenging for companies to instate. You want to hire the best people. You want to hire the people with the best tenure and expertise. So we have to create that layer of training and opportunity management and pipeline management so that when promotions come around, there's enough pipeline within middle management to be promoted into leadership. Yeah. That's where I think the big opportunity and I think the big gap within our sector right now. And you know, it's been incredible being at Sprout Social, learning about their core values, their commitment to DEI initiatives. And I'm really excited. I'm going to start working with the marketing team on some DEI blog posts because it's truly something that is near to my heart and something that I want to look back on my career and say that I took part in this in a really positive way. I've been given some incredible opportunities, and I know that I wouldn't be here if I wasn't given those.
Yeah, that's great advice. So if somebody wants to get in touch with you or follow Sprout Social, how would they do that?
Best way is LinkedIn. I'm actually pretty active on there just from a reading of articles and connecting with people. And if they're interested in finding us from a company perspective, there is the Tagger Media by Sprout Social and Sprout Social accounts as well. And again, my name's Bianca Carr, and they can find me on LinkedIn.
Well, Bianca, thank you so much for coming on How She Got There. And I think that you probably have inspired a great many people today.
Thank you so much for having me. Honestly, my job is talking. And so I'm thrilled to just be able to talk about this. And yeah, definitely want to be able to help more women in the industry and women who want to be in the industry, who aren't in it yet and are hoping to make that move. So if anyone wants to reach out to me, I am more than happy to have a conversation with them.
Oh, I love that. All right, everyone. So follow Bianca on LinkedIn and follow Sprout Social as well. And if you like what you hear today, make sure to hit subscribe.